I'm Hank Briggs, third-generation Nebraska farmer. And the day the HOA president smashed her $90,000 Mercedes into my combine harvester changed everything. Mid-November morning, I'm out harvesting corn like I've done every year since I took over the farm. Corn dust thick in the air, diesel engine rumbling, everything normal. Then suddenly, a white Mercedes barrels across my field like a missile. No brake, full-speed impact into my stationary combine. Metal shrieking, airbags exploding, burnt rubber mixing with fresh corn. This woman, Maureen Falstead, HOA president from the subdivision next door, stumbles out in heels, mascara streaked, phone already dialing. She's screaming at 911.
Arrest him! He's trespassing on HOA land!
2 police cruisers arrive. She's hysterical, pointing at me, absolutely convinced I'm the criminal. The second she hit my tractor, she gave me everything I needed to end this. She just didn't know it yet. What would you do? Drop your state. Where are you watching from? 16 months before that white Mercedes ended up in my cornfield, my life was about as exciting as watching paint dry, which is exactly how I liked it. I'm Hank Briggs, 52, third-generation farmer on 160 acres outside Lincoln, Nebraska. My grandfather bought this land in 1952 with cash he'd saved from the war. $8,000 for what's now worth close to $3 million, thanks to development creeping in from every direction. He cleared these fields with a handshake crew, built the barn in one summer, planted corn that same fall. My dad took over in '79. I took over in '98, right after I married Patty. We raised 2 kids here. Both moved to cities for work, which I get. Farming's hard. The romance dies around 4 a.m. when you're fixing a busted irrigation line in the mud. Patty passed 3 years ago. Cancer. The farmhouse still smells like her lavender soap sometimes, which sounds crazy, but I swear it's true. I keep her garden going. Tomatoes, green beans, sunflowers tall as the fence. The kids visit twice a year. The rest of the time, it's me, 200 chickens, and corn as far as I can see. No mortgage since '97. I donate 30% of every harvest to the regional food bank because Patty always said, if you've got enough, help people who don't. I drive a 2006 F-150 with 200,000 miles. My John Deere's from 2012 sounds like a dragon when it starts. That deep, rumbling diesel growl that means business. Simple life. Quiet. Then in 2019, Cornerstone Homes bought the Paulson farm next door and turned 300 acres into Prairie Meadows Estates, 200 homes starting at $750. I watched them bulldoze Bill Paulson's barn, the one his grandfather built in 1947, in about 4 hours. Sounded like the world ending. Dust clouds so thick I couldn't see my own fence line. Within 18 months I had neighbors, lots of them, McMansions with 3-car garages, professional landscaping. An HOA with bylaws thicker than my seed catalog. I didn't care. Not my circus, not my monkeys. But Cornerstone needed an easement across my property for utilities. The project manager, nice guy named Ron, offered me 20 grand. I said, give me $1 instead. Ron looked like I'd spoken Mandarin. I'm sorry? $1. But I wanted in writing that this is an easement only. No HOA authority over my land, ever. My property line doesn't move, and nobody gets to tell me how to farm. We got a lawyer, wrote it ironclad, recorded it with the county. I've still got that dollar bill framed in my kitchen. Best investment I ever made. Or so I thought. August 2020, Maureen Falstead moved into Prairie Meadows. Maureen's 58, California transplant, drives a white Mercedes GLE that probably cost more than my tractor. She's got that look. Athleisure outfits, designer sunglasses, the kind of haircut that requires maintenance. Her husband Todd works in tech, stays inside, basically invisible. No kids, lots of free time. She got elected HOA president within a year. By year 3, people were genuinely afraid of her. I heard stories. She fined a veteran $200 for parking his work truck in his own driveway overnight. Commercial vehicles prohibited. She made a young couple repaint their shutters because the beige was 2 shades off approval. She once walked onto someone's yard with a tape measure to prove their garden gnome exceeded the 12-inch decorative item limit. I'm not kidding. 12 inches for a gnome. But I wasn't in the HOA, so I figured I was safe. June 2023, certified letter. Professional letterhead, 2 pages. The summary: my unkempt agricultural property violated community aesthetic standards. I needed to install $40,000 in privacy hedges, pave my gravel driveway, and paint my barn in approved colors. I read it twice, laughed. Then I read it again, and the laughing stopped, because she wasn't joking. She genuinely believed she had authority over land my family had owned for 71 years. I threw the letter in the recycling and went back to work. That was my first mistake. 2 weeks after I tossed that first letter in the recycling, my phone rang. Mr. Briggs, Emily Tran, Lincoln Journal star. Got a minute? I was elbow deep in my tractor engine, replacing a fan belt. Smell of motor oil thick in the air, metal tools hot from sitting in the August sun. Depends what it's about. Maureen Falstead contacted our newsroom claiming your farm is creating environmental hazards. Pesticide runoff, rodent infestation. She's holding an emergency HOA meeting tonight about agricultural blight and invited me to cover it. Wanted to hear your side first. I stood up, wiped grease off my hands with a shop rag. Ma'am, I run organic, have for 12 years. No synthetic pesticides. As for rodents, I've got barn cats and chickens. That's kind of how farms work. Pause on her end. That's not what Mrs. Falstead said. Mrs. Falstead wouldn't know a combine from a riding mower. Emily laughed. Real laughter, not the polite kind. Can I come see your operation? She showed up 2 hours later. I walked her through the fields, corn standing 7 feet tall, rustling in the breeze. Cover crops thick between rows to prevent erosion. Showed her my USDA organic certification, current since 2011. My Audubon Society Wildlife Habitat Award hanging in the barn. Frame slightly dusty, but the seal still official. Emily took photos, asked smart questions. By the end, she was shaking her head. Mr. Briggs, this isn't blight. This is cleaner than most suburban lawns I've seen. Appreciate that. Then she showed me her phone. Photos of my barn, except they'd been altered. The red paint looked rotten and peeling. The fence sagged at impossible angles. Someone had digitally added trash piles and rusted junk that didn't exist anywhere on my property. She distributed these at last month's HOA meeting, Emily said. The anger came slow, then all at once. Cold, not hot. I dealt with hail destroying entire crops, equipment breakdowns at harvest time, bank loans during bad years. You don't survive farming by getting emotional. But this was different. This was someone lying about the land my grandfather cleared with his own hands. Can you send me those? I kept my voice level. Already in your inbox. That night, Emily attended Maureen's meeting. I stayed home, fed my chickens, the rhythmic scatter of feed hitting dry dirt, birds clucking and jostling for position, the earthy smell of dust and feathers in the evening air, and waited. Next morning, her article went live. Local farmer battles HOA overreach. Organic operation targeted despite 0 violations. Fair. Detailed. Included my certifications, the Audubon Award, and, here's the part that mattered, noted that county records showed my property was completely outside HOA jurisdiction per the 2019 easement agreement. She also mentioned the photoshopped images. The comments exploded. Hundreds of people defending me, sharing their own HOA horror stories. By noon, 4,000 Facebook shares. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee going cold, watching the numbers climb and feeling something I hadn't felt in years, vindication. My phone started ringing. People from Prairie Meadows I'd never met, apologizing, saying they'd been misled. Tim Brennan, contractor. Hank, I'm sorry. She showed us those photos. I didn't know she was lying. Not your fault, I said. You trusted your HOA president. That's reasonable. Maureen went silent for 3 days. Then day 4, cease and desist letter from her attorney. Claimed I'd defamed her by providing false information to media and demanded a public apology. I read it twice, standing at my mailbox, feeling that same cold anger from before. Then I called Boone Kavanaugh, 67, semi-retired real estate lawyer who'd handled my parents' estate. We go fishing twice a year. He's heard every stupid legal threat imaginable. Boone, need you to read something. I scanned and emailed it. 30 seconds later, he called back, laughing so hard he couldn't breathe. Hank, this might be the dumbest cease and desist I've seen in 40 years of practice. That bad? She's threatening defamation for telling the truth to a reporter. I learned in first-year law school that truth is a complete defense to defamation. You can't lose a defamation case if what you said is factually accurate. And her claim about tortious interference? She has zero legal authority over your land. The easement contract we drafted makes that bulletproof. Her attorney should be embarrassed. So what do I do? Let me respond. Boone's letter was surgical, professional, devastating. Summary: no defamation occurred because all my statements were true and verifiable. Maureen had no jurisdiction over my property per recorded documents. Further harassment would result in a countersuit. Sent certified mail. I also posted the 2019 easement agreement on Facebook, public record from the county clerk, nothing confidential. Added a simple caption: for anyone confused about property lines, here's the legal document. Survey map attached. 2,000 shares in Prairie Meadows alone within 24 hours. The subdivision split. 30% still backed Maureen. 50% stayed quiet, terrified of fines. But 20% started speaking up, forming a group called Reasonable Residents, sharing stories of Maureen's overreach. Denise Kohler, accountant, posted, I reviewed our HOA financials. We've spent $11,000 in 6 months on legal consultation. Nobody voted on this. Where's the money going? Maureen started deleting comments, blocking members from the official HOA page. By late August, I'd gone from invisible farmer to accidental folk hero in a subdivision I didn't live in, and Maureen had gone from confident to cornered. I should have seen what was coming next. September hit, and Maureen changed tactics. Safety complaints. First letter Tuesday morning. Subject: unsafe agricultural equipment on public roadways. She'd filed with the Nebraska DMV, claiming my farm equipment violated permit requirements when I moved machinery between fields. I called my equipment dealer. Marcus, do I need permits to move my combine on Route 34? Marcus laughed. Hank, you've been farming 30 years. Farm equipment under 25 miles per hour is exempt. State law since the 70s. Yeah, I know. Just needed confirmation. Someone bothering you? HOA president thinks she's the DMV now. Christ, good luck. The DMV sent Inspector Tom Vasquez anyway. He checked my slow-moving vehicle triangles, lights, equipment registration. 10 minutes. Done. Mr. Briggs, you're compliant. Complaint dismissed. Appreciated. He lowered his voice. Off the record? Third bogus call this month from your HOA. We're documenting a pattern. Same week, County Health Department called. Mr. Briggs, Deshaun Porter, Environmental Health. Got a complaint about unsanitary conditions. Chicken coop near a property line. I closed my eyes. When can you come out? This afternoon. Deshaun showed up at 2. I walked him to the coop, 20 feet from my barn, 60 feet from the property line. Proper ventilation, elevated floor, clean bedding, the smell of fresh straw and chicken feed, warm afternoon sun beating down on the tin roof. He inspected 15 minutes, took photos, filled out his report standing in my yard. Mr. Briggs, your coop's cleaner than my kitchen. 0 violations. Good to know. He hesitated, showed me his phone. Complaint log for your address. 6 complaints, 4 months. All from Maureen Falstead. All dismissed. 6? Pesticides, noise, water runoff, vermin, structural hazards, now this. He looked at me straight. Mr. Briggs, people who file this many false complaints don't stop on their own. Document everything. After he left, I sat on my porch with a beer. Warm September evening, crickets singing, smell of dry grass and distant harvest dust from neighboring farms. And I made a decision. Ordered 4 game cameras off Amazon. Motion activated, night vision, weatherproof. $300. Spent the weekend installing them along my property line. Visible, legal, clearly marked with surveillance in use signs. Covering my driveway, barn entrance, chicken coop, fence line closest to Prairie Meadows. Not trying to catch her, just creating a record. 2 weeks later they paid off. September 19th, 6:07 a.m. Motion alert. I pulled up footage. Todd Falstead walking my property line with a measuring tape and notepad. 6:23 a.m. Different camera. A woman I didn't recognize. Later found out it was Maureen's sister Lynette. standing on my driveway photographing my chicken coop. Professional camera, 15 feet onto my property, clear trespassing. I downloaded the footage, backed it up, called the sheriff's non-emergency line. Deputy Cole Richardson showed up that afternoon. Young, maybe 29, professional. I showed him the footage. You want to press charges? I thought about it. Not yet. File a report, get it documented. But I'd rather warn them first. That's generous. I'm not trying to ruin anyone. I just want a farm. Cole wrote the report, drove to Prairie Meadows, had a conversation with Maureen and Todd. Later he told me, Mrs. Falstead said they had a right to verify property boundaries because your fence was encroaching on HOA land. I explained that requires permission or a court order. Her husband apologized. She didn't. Sounds right. Keep those cameras running. That same week, I called my neighbor on the opposite side, Russell Grant, 71, runs organic vegetables on 80 acres. We'd been friendly, but not close. Russell, it's Hank. You got time to talk about our mutual neighbor problem? Silence. Then, Maureen Falstead? Yeah. Come over. I'll make coffee. Russell's kitchen table was covered in folders. 47 letters from Maureen over 18 months. Irrigation noise complaints, privacy fence demands, agricultural odor threats about his compost. She tried to declare my property a nuisance, Russell said. Cost me $4,000 in legal fees. Lost so badly the judge warned her about frivolous litigation. We spent an hour comparing notes, patterns, timeline. Hank, she's not trying to get compliance. She's trying to force you to sell. That hit hard. You sure? 2 years ago, real estate agent contacted me. Private offer for my land, 60% below market. I said no. Complaints started 1 week later. He showed me the offer letter. Development company. Not Cornerstone directly, but the address matched their regional office. She moved on after the judge's warning, Russell said. Now she's focused on you. I drove home as the sun set, sky orange and purple over my cornfields, and realized I wasn't scared anymore. I was done playing defense. Time to set a trap. October brought harvest season, and Maureen made her boldest move yet. I was out checking my south field, the one that runs closest to Prairie Meadows, when I noticed something that made me stop cold. 6 wooden fence posts, brand new, driven into the ground in a neat line. Each one about 6 feet tall, painted white, positioned along what Maureen apparently thought was the property boundary. Problem: they were 15 feet inside my land. I walked the line, checking each post. Fresh dirt around the bases. Installed recently, maybe that morning. I pulled out my phone and called Grace Mendoza, the county surveyor who'd done my property assessment back in 2019. Grace, it's Hank Briggs. You got time for an emergency resurvey? What happened? Someone just installed fence posts on my property, claiming it's theirs. She was there in 90 minutes. Professional, no nonsense, carrying equipment that looked like it cost more than my truck. She set up her transit, checked GPS coordinates against county records, took measurements. After 20 minutes, she walked over to where I was standing by the posts. Mr. Briggs, these posts are 14 feet, 7 inches inside your property line. Whoever installed them committed criminal mischief. Can you document that officially? Already doing it. I'll have a certified survey report ready by tomorrow morning, including GPS coordinates and photographic evidence. This is clear cut. What do I do about the posts? Legally? They're on your property without permission. You can remove them. But I'd document first. Photos, measurements, everything. Then I'd contact whoever put them here and give them 24 hours to remove them voluntarily. I already knew who put them there. I took probably 50 photos from every angle. Measurements. Close-ups of the fresh dirt. Then I called the landscaping company whose truck I'd seen in Prairie Meadows that morning. Logo on the side, Greenscape Solutions. The owner, a guy named Mike, answered on the second ring. Greenscape, this is Mike. Mike, this is Hank Briggs. You did some fence post installation this morning near Prairie Meadows Estates? Long pause. Yeah, HOA president hired us. Why? Those posts are on my private property, about 15 feet inside my legal boundary. I've got a county surveyor here right now confirming it. Oh, Jesus. I could hear him flipping through paperwork. She told us it was HO a common land, showed us a plat map. We verified the location she marked. Her map was wrong, probably deliberately. Mr. Briggs, we had no idea. We're a legitimate company, we don't trespass. If she misrepresented the property line, that's on her. We'll come remove those posts right now, no charge, and we're refunding the HOA immediately. Appreciate that, Mike. Can I ask, do you want us to send you our invoice? What she paid us? Might be useful if this goes legal. That'd be helpful. Mike and his crew showed up within the hour, pulled every post, apologized 3 times, and emailed me a PDF of their invoice. $1,200 for materials and labor, paid by Prairie Meadows HOA via Maureen's authorization. I forwarded it to Boone. His response, 2 minutes later. She just spent HOA money on criminal mischief. Board members could sue her personally. Keep this. That evening, I got a call from Vikram Patel, Prairie Meadows HOA treasurer, one of the board members who'd been staying quiet during all this. Mr. Briggs, this is Vikram Patel. I'm on the HOA board. Can we talk? Sure. Greenscape just refunded us $1,200 and said Maureen ordered work done on your property without authorization. Is that true? Completely true. I've got county survey documentation if you want to see it. Silence. Then, Mr. Briggs, I need you to understand something. Most of us on the board had no idea what Maureen was doing. She handles day-to-day operations. We vote on big expenses, but she told us the fence posts were boundary clarification on HOA land. We approved $1,200 thinking it was legitimate. I believe you. I'm calling an emergency board meeting. This has gone too far. But I need to ask, are you planning to sue the HOA? Vikram, I don't want to sue anybody. I want to farm my corn. But if Maureen keeps coming after me, I'll defend myself. Understood. And thank you for not pressing charges on the trespassing incidents. A lot of people would have. After we hung up, I sat on my porch as the sun dropped below the horizon. October chill in the air, smell of turned earth from fields ready for harvest, the distant honking of geese flying south in formation overhead. Maureen had just made 3 critical mistakes. First, she'd spent HOA money without proper authorization, exposing herself to personal liability. Second, she'd committed criminal mischief with witnesses and documentation. Third, she'd lost the support of her own board. I didn't know it yet, but there was something else happening behind the scenes, something that would change everything. Because while I was dealing with fence posts, Boone was digging into public records, and he'd just found something that made him call me at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. Hank, you sitting down? Yeah, why? I found the smoking gun, and it's bigger than we thought. What'd you find? I asked. Boone's voice had that edge it gets when he's onto something big. Remember when Cornerstone Homes needed that easement back in 2019? I pulled the full development contract from county records, not just our easement addendum, the master agreement between Cornerstone and the original landowner. Okay, there's a clause we never saw. Section 14, subsection C. It's an indemnification provision. I waited. Hank, Cornerstone agreed to indemnify any future HOA from legal liability if that HOA attempted to claim jurisdiction beyond the recorded subdivision boundaries. In plain English, if the HOA sues you over a property line dispute, the developer has to pay all your legal fees plus any damages. I sat up straighter. You're serious. Dead serious. It's right here in black and white. The clause was buried in the original filing because developers knew property line disputes were likely when they built next to existing farms. They didn't want liability, so they made the HOA hold the bag. Except they also created a poison pill. Any lawsuit triggers automatic developer responsibility. Does Maureen know about this? No way. She wasn't even living here in 2019, and I guarantee the current board doesn't know either, or they would have stopped her months ago. My mind was racing. So every complaint she filed, every dollar the HOA spent on surveyors and legal consultations, Cornerstone has to reimburse it, and if she actually sued you and lost, the developer would owe you damages plus fees. She's been playing with the HOA's money, thinking she's protected, but she's actually been building a liability bomb. How much are we talking? I heard papers rustling. Based on what Vikram told you about their spending, plus the complaints you've documented, the photoshopped images, the trespassing incidents, If this went to court, you'd have a harassment case worth 6 figures easy, and Cornerstone would have to pay it. Why would they agree to something like that? Because back in 2019, they were desperate for your easement. Without it, their whole development would have needed a different utility plan, probably cost them millions. So they agreed to protect themselves from future liability by making the HOA think twice before starting property disputes. It's actually smart legal work. They just bet that no HOA would be dumb enough to actually pick this fight. They didn't count on Maureen. Nobody could have counted on Maureen. I stood up, walked to my window, looked out at the dark fields. So what do I do with this? That's the beautiful part. You don't have to do anything yet. Just knowing this exists changes the entire dynamic. Maureen thinks she can keep pushing because the HOA is paying for it. The board thinks they're on the hook for whatever she does. But the reality is, the developer's been responsible this whole time. You think I should tell Vikram? Not yet. Let's save this, because here's what I'm thinking. Maureen's going to escalate. She's losing control, losing board support, and people like her don't back down. They double down. When she makes her next move, that's when we reveal this. Maximum impact. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Boone laughed. Hank, I've been practicing law for 40 years. Most of it's contracts and estate planning and zoning disputes that put me to sleep. This is the most fun I've had since 1997, when I defended a farmer against an EPA wetland designation that turned out to be a seasonal puddle. What happened? We won. The EPA official got transferred, and the farmer bought me a bottle of bourbon so expensive I still haven't opened it. After we hung up, I just sat there in the dark. Everything had changed. I wasn't just defending my property anymore. I was sitting on information that could end Maureen's crusade and potentially expose the HOA board to the truth about who'd been protecting them all along. But Boone was right. Timing mattered. I needed to let Maureen make the next move. Let her think she was still in control. Let her commit so fully to her campaign that when the truth came out, there'd be no way to spin it. And I had a pretty good idea what that next move would be. Harvest was 3 weeks away, and I'd be harvesting the exact field she'd been calling HOA land for months. November was coming, which meant harvest, and I wasn't going to hide. I called Grace Mendoza first. Grace, I need you to do something that might seem excessive. After what I've seen, nothing seems excessive. What do you need? I want official county survey stakes placed every 25 feet along my entire property line. The bright orange flags, GPS coordinates, the works. I want it so visible that a blind man could see where my land starts. That's going to be expensive. I don't care. How much? Probably $800 for materials and my time. Do it. And Grace, I want photographs documenting every single stake, time-stamped and certified. She came out the next day, spent 6 hours walking my property line with her GPS equipment, driving stakes into the ground every 25 feet. Each one had a bright orange flag, a metal tag with coordinates, and a county certification stamp. When she finished, she handed me a USB drive. Complete photographic record, every stake, GPS location, county seal verification. If anyone questions where your property line is, this is definitive proof. Perfect. Next call. Russell Grant. Russell, remember how you said you had professional video equipment? Yeah, for documenting my growing seasons. Why? How would you feel about recording my corn harvest from your property? Full documentation, wide angles, the whole operation. Long pause. You're setting a trap. I'm farming my land very publicly. If someone wants to make it a problem, I want everything on record. I'm in. When? November 16th, start time, 9 a.m. I called my daughter Jenna in Chicago next. Hey Dad, she answered. What's up? You still got that nice camera you use for your photography hobby? Yeah. Feel like coming home for a weekend? Documenting your old man's corn harvest? Dad, what's going on? I told her everything. The complaints, the trespassing, the fence posts, Maureen's escalating campaign. By the end, she was quiet. So you think she's going to try something when you harvest that field? I think there's a non-zero chance she loses her mind when she sees me out there. And if she does, I want multiple camera angles. I'll drive down Friday night. Wouldn't miss this. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I called the county sheriff's non-emergency line and asked for Deputy Cole Richardson specifically. Deputy Richardson, it's Hank Briggs. Mr. Briggs, everything okay? Yeah, but I wanted to give you a heads up. I'm harvesting my south field on November 16th, the one adjacent to Prairie Meadows. Given everything that's happened with Maureen Falstead, I wanted to let you know in case there are noise complaints or other issues. Appreciate the notice. You expecting trouble? I'm expecting to farm my corn, but I've learned to prepare for the unexpected. Understood. I'll make sure patrol swings by that morning, just to keep an eye on things. The week before harvest, I did one more thing. I called Emily Tran. Emily, it's Hank Briggs. Hank, how's the HOA war going? About to reach a conclusion, I think. You interested in a follow-up story? Always. What's happening? I'm harvesting my south field November 16th. The same field Maureen's been claiming is HOA land. I think there's a decent chance she'll make a scene. If you want to be there with a camera, you're welcome. Are you serious? Completely. 9 a.m., weather permitting. Bring a photographer if you want. It's my property. You've got my permission to be there. Emily laughed. Hank, you're either very smart or very crazy. I'm a farmer. We're used to gambling on weather, crop prices, and equipment not breaking down at the worst possible moment. This is just another calculated risk. I'll be there. The night before harvest, I walked my property line one last time. Cold November evening, smell of frost coming, the corn stalks dry and ready, rattling in the wind like paper. My boots crunched on frozen ground. Every 25 feet, an orange survey stake glowed in the moonlight. I counted them, 47 stakes along the southern boundary alone. My combine was fueled, serviced, ready. Russell had his cameras positioned on his property with clear sight lines. Jenna was driving in at dawn. Emily confirmed she'd be there with her photographer. Deputy Cole would be in the area. Everything was in place. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't backing down. I was farming my land exactly the way my grandfather taught me. Straight rows, steady pace, no shortcuts. If Maureen wanted to stop me, she'd have to do it in front of witnesses, and I'd be ready. Friday, November 15th, day before harvest. I was doing final equipment checks when my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Briggs, this is Dale Kowalski. I'm a property surveyor. Maureen Falstead hired me to verify some boundary lines near your farm. I wanted to reach out professionally before I start work tomorrow morning. I set down my wrench. Mr. Kowalski, can I ask, are you county certified? Pause. I'm an independent consultant. I do private property assessments. So, that's a no. I've been doing this for 15 years, Mr. Kowalski. I've got county-certified survey stakes every 25 feet along my property line, installed last week by Grace Mendoza. GPS coordinates, official county seal, the works. Whatever Maureen's paying you, it's a waste of her money. She said you'd be difficult about this. I'm not being difficult. I'm telling you that if you place any markers on my property claiming it's HOA land, you'll be committing criminal mischief. Grace Mendoza's survey is definitive. County records support it. You want to verify that yourself before you take this job. Longer pause. I'll call Mrs. Falstead back. He hung up. 20 minutes later, Russell called. Hank, you're not going to believe this. Some guy in a pickup truck just tried to plant survey stakes on the HOA side of your fence line. I walked over and asked what he was doing. He took one look at your Orange County stakes and those surveillance in use signs, packed up his equipment, and drove off. Yeah, he called me first. Unlicensed surveyor. Maureen hired him. She's desperate. She's about to get worse. That evening, I was sitting on my porch, temperature dropping, smell of wood smoke from someone's fireplace drifting across the fields, when headlights turned into my driveway. Maureen's white Mercedes. I stayed seated, waited. She got out, walked halfway up my driveway, and stopped about 20 feet from my porch. Close enough to talk, far enough to avoid technically trespassing on my doorstep. Mr. Briggs, we need to talk. About what? I know what you're planning tomorrow. I'm harvesting corn, same thing I do every November. That field is community land. It's been designated for HOA use. Maureen, stop. That field is 43 feet inside my property boundary. You've seen the survey stakes. You know this. Her voice got higher. Those stakes are wrong. I've had my own assessment done by an unlicensed consultant who hung up on me when I mentioned county records. She took a step forward. I stayed seated, but my hand moved to my phone. The porch camera was recording. So were two of my game cameras pointed at the driveway. If you harvest that field tomorrow, I will call the police and have you arrested for trespassing and destruction of HOA property. Maureen, you can call whoever you want. I've already notified the sheriff's department that I'll be harvesting. Deputy Richardson knows I'll be on my own land, operating legally. This isn't over. It never had to start. You could have checked county records 18 months ago. You could have accepted the easement agreement from 2019. Instead, you've spent thousands of HOA dollars, filed false complaints, trespassed on my property, and committed criminal mischief with those fence posts. At some point, you have to ask yourself what you're actually fighting for. Property values, community standards, things you clearly don't understand. I understand I've been farming this land since before you moved to Nebraska, and I'll be farming it long after you're gone. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she turned, walked back to her Mercedes, and drove off fast enough to spray gravel. I sat there in the cold, watching her taillights disappear. My phone buzzed. Text from Jenna. Just crossed the Iowa border. Be there in 2 hours. Ready to film your harvest. Love you, Dad. Another text from Russell. Saw Maureen leave your place. Everything okay? I typed back. All good. See you at 8:30 tomorrow. Then one more text from Boone. Emergency HOA meeting scheduled for tonight. Vikram just posted the agenda. Item 1. Review of unauthorized expenditures and presidential authority limits. Maureen's losing the board. I texted back. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. He replied immediately. Understatement of the year. I'm keeping my phone on. If anything happens, call me first. I went inside, made dinner, checked the weather forecast one more time. Clear skies, temperature in the low 40s, perfect harvest conditions. Set my alarm for 5 a.m. and tried to sleep, knowing that in less than 12 hours, everything would come to a head. One way or another, this was ending tomorrow. November 16th, Harvest Day. I woke up at 4:45 a.m., 15 minutes before my alarm. Couldn't sleep anyway. Made coffee in the dark kitchen. The familiar smell of grounds and hot water, the burner clicking on, everything normal except my pulse running faster than usual. Outside, frost covered everything. The world looked silver in the pre-dawn light. Jenna was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with her camera gear spread out. Morning, Dad. You didn't have to get up this early. Wouldn't miss it. Plus, golden hour lighting is perfect for dramatic footage. She grinned. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. By 6 a.m., I was running final checks on the combine. Diesel engine turning over smooth, that deep rumble that means everything's working. Grain bin empty and clean, header blades sharp. I climbed into the cab, adjusted the seat, tested the controls, everything ready. Russell called at 7:15. I'm set up on my north field with 3 cameras, got clear sight lines to your entire south boundary. Recording starts at 9. Appreciated, Russell. Hank, be careful. Just farming corn. Emily Tran arrived at 8:30 with her photographer, a younger guy named Marcus carrying professional equipment. Mr. Briggs, thanks for letting us document this. Just stay on my property and you're welcome to film whatever you want. Deal. By 8:45, the scene was set. My combine positioned at the north end of the field, ready to start the first pass. Jenna on the fence line with her camera, Russell's equipment running from his property. Emily and Marcus set up near my barn with a clear view. Deputy Cole Richardson pulled up at 8:50 in his patrol car. Parked on the public road shoulder, got out, walked over. Mr. Briggs, morning. Deputy, thanks for coming by. Just keeping an eye on things. You're free to operate. This is your land, your equipment, all legal. If anyone interferes with you, call me immediately. Will do. He went back to his car but didn't leave, just sat there, visible. Official presence. At 8:55, I climbed into the combine cab, strapped in. The leather seat cold even through my jacket, controls familiar under my hands. Started the engine. Diesel roar filling the morning air, vibration through the whole machine. I looked out at the field. 7-foot corn stalks, dry and ready, stretching 200 yards south toward Prairie Meadows. The same field my grandfather planted in 1953. The same field my father harvested for 40 years. The same field Maureen Falstead thought belonged to her HOA. 9 a.m. I engaged the header and started forward. The combine ate into the first row. Corn stalks snapping, ears rattling up the conveyor, kernels streaming into the grain bin. The sound is almost musical, if you've heard it your whole life. Mechanical and natural at once, the rhythm of harvest. I was 3 passes in, maybe 20 minutes, when I saw the white Mercedes. It came fast down the Prairie Meadows access road, turned onto the public road, pulled onto the shoulder about 50 yards from Deputy Cole's patrol car. Maureen got out. I kept harvesting. Steady speed, straight line, eyes forward. Through my side mirror, I saw her talking to Deputy Cole, gesturing at my field, pointing at me. He shook his head, said something. She got more animated. 4th pass, 5th pass. The combine was running parallel to the property line now, about 35 feet from the nearest orange survey stake. Completely, obviously on my land. Maureen started walking toward the field. Deputy Cole called out something. She ignored him. She walked past the survey stakes, bright orange, impossible to miss, stepped over my fence, and started walking across my harvested rows toward the combine. I stopped, shut off the header but left the engine running. She was yelling something. I couldn't hear over the diesel, but I could see her face, red, furious, mouth moving fast. Deputy Cole was out of his car now, following her onto my property, radio in hand. I climbed down from the cab, boots hitting the dirt, cold air hitting my face after the warm cab. The smell of diesel and fresh-cut corn stalks thick in the air. Maureen was 30 feet away and closing. "You need to stop," she screamed. "This is HOA land. You're trespassing." Deputy Cole reached her, put a hand on her arm. "Ma'am, you need to leave this property. This is private land." "It's community property. I have documentation." "Ma'am, I've seen the county survey. This is Mr. Briggs' land. You're currently trespassing." That's when she snapped. She turned, ran back toward the road, not to her Mercedes, but toward it, got in, started the engine, and I realized what she was about to do, 1 second too late to do anything about it. She gunned the Mercedes straight across my field, tires throwing dirt, heading directly toward my combine. Deputy Cole was yelling into his radio. "I need backup. Subject driving vehicle onto private property." The Mercedes hit the uneven furrows and bounced. She didn't slow down. Came straight at my combine like she could move 18,000 pounds of steel with a luxury SUV. "Dad, move!" Jenna screaming from the fence line. I stepped back. Maureen aimed for the combine's right rear wheel. 25 miles per hour, maybe more. She hit it dead on. The sound, metal and fiberglass crunching, airbags detonating with a bang that echoed across the field. The combine didn't budge. Her Mercedes accordion folded around my wheel like aluminum foil, steam hissing from the crumpled hood, white airbag dust billowing out the shattered windshield. 3 seconds of silence, then Maureen's door opened. She stumbled out, airbag powder on her jacket, mascara running, hair wild. "You did this," she screamed. "You drove into me. This is HOA land." Deputy Cole running toward her. "Ma'am, do not move. Are you injured?" She ignored him, started toward me, pointing. "Arrest him! He's trespassing!" A second patrol car screamed up. Sergeant Anna Reyes jumped out, assessed instantly. Wrecked Mercedes, undamaged combine, Maureen advancing. "Ma'am, stop right there." Maureen kept coming. "He needs to be arrested. This is HOA property." I found my voice. "Sergeant, she's on my land. I can show you the survey markers." By now, people were gathering. Emily Tran sprinting closer with her camera. Russell filming from his fence line. Jenna still recording. And at least 15 Prairie Meadows residents on the public road. Phones up, filming everything. Sergeant Reyes walked to the nearest survey stake, read the county tag, pulled out her phone, checked GIS coordinates. She walked back. "Ma'am, this is definitively private property belonging to Hank Briggs. You're trespassing." Maureen's face cycled white to red to white. "That's impossible. I have documentation. I've verified using county records. These stakes are county certified. You're on private land without permission. I stepped forward, pulled out my folder. County survey from Grace Mendoza, the 2019 easement agreement, photos of the fence posts, game camera footage of the trespassing incidents. Sergeant Reyes looked through it all. Mr. Briggs, how long has this been going on? 16 months. She turned to Maureen. Ma'am, I'm placing you under arrest for reckless driving, criminal mischief, and trespassing. You have the right to remain silent. What? I'm the victim here. Ma'am, 15 witnesses just watched you deliberately crash your vehicle into stationary farm equipment. Maureen started crying. Real tears. The kind that come when reality hits and there's no spin left. As Reyes walked her to the patrol car, Vikram Patel stepped forward from the crowd, stopped at my property line. Mr. Briggs, I owe you an apology. We all do. Emily Tran was there with her microphone. Mr. Briggs, what just happened here? I looked at the wrecked Mercedes, at my undamaged combine, at the crowd of neighbors. I was harvesting corn on land my family's owned since 1952, same as every November. Mrs. Falstead claimed this was HOA land. Your response? I pulled out my phone, showed her the framed dollar bill photo. In 2019, I gave Cornerstone Homes an easement for $1. Contract stated clearly, easement only, no HOA jurisdiction. It's recorded with the county. Anyone could have checked. Then I dropped it. Here's what nobody knew. That 2019 contract included an indemnification clause. If the HOA pursued legal action over property boundaries, Cornerstone Homes had to cover all legal fees and damages. Every dollar Maureen spent fighting me, the developer was required to reimburse. Vikram's face went pale. What? Every complaint, every surveyor, every legal consultation. Cornerstone's been financially responsible the entire time. Dead silence from the crowd. Emily's eyes went wide. The developer was liable this whole time, and nobody knew? It was in the original filing, buried in Section 14, subsection C. I found it 3 weeks ago. Vikram turned to the other board members in the crowd. She spent $18,000 of HOA money. $18,000. That Cornerstone has to pay back, I said. It's in the contract. Maureen, from the patrol car, heard this, started screaming, incoherent. Sergeant Reyes closed the door, cutting off the sound. Tim Brennan spoke up. Hank, what happens now? I looked at them, regular people who'd been misled. That's up to you. You've got financial records to review and a board meeting to hold. Me? I'm going back to harvesting my corn. I climbed into my combine, started the engine. The diesel roar filled the silence. Behind me, the crowd dispersed slowly. Emily interviewed Vikram. Deputy Cole measured skid marks. A tow truck arrived for the Mercedes, and I harvested corn. Straight rows, steady pace, the rhythmic sound of stalks snapping, grain rattling into the bin, the smell of diesel and fresh-cut corn in the cold November air. Just like my grandfather taught me. 2 weeks after the crash, Maureen pleaded guilty. Reckless driving, criminal mischief, trespassing, 6 months suspended jail time, 100 hours community service at the regional food bank, Boone's suggestion, $15,000 restitution for my legal fees, permanent restraining order, 500 feet from my property. She resigned from HOA presidency before the formal removal vote, just submitted a one-sentence letter. Her house went up for sale 3 weeks later. She and Todd moved to Arizona by New Year's. I heard he filed for divorce months later, but never confirmed it. Wasn't my business. The HOA held emergency elections in December. Vikram became president. First actions, new bylaws. No president could spend over $1,000 without full board vote. Quarterly financial transparency reports, mandatory. Any legal action required member approval. They sued Maureen personally for unauthorized spending, settled for $12,000 on a payment plan. Cornerstone Homes honored the indemnification clause without a fight. Cut the HOA an $18,000 check, covering every dollar Maureen spent. The developer's attorney actually apologized, said they should have flagged that clause back in 2019. By January, Prairie Meadows had reasonable rules, transparent finances, and a president who read contracts. December brought something unexpected. Russell and I co-hosted a Good Neighbor Harvest Festival. 300 people showed up. Hay rides through corn stubble. Kids climbing into my combine. Russell selling organic produce at cost. Proceeds to the food bank. Grace Mendoza gave a free workshop. Know your property lines. Taught people how to pull county records, read surveys, verify boundaries. Standing room only. One moment stuck with me. A young couple from Prairie Meadows approached while I was showing kids the combine header. Mr. Briggs, we owe you an apology. We believed Maureen. We thought you were the problem. You trusted your HOA president. That's reasonable. We should have verified. We're sorry. You're here now. That's what matters. By spring, I updated my will, made a decision. When I die, the farm goes to Nebraska Land Trust, protected forever. No development, just farmland, sustainable practices, food and wildlife habitat in perpetuity. I called Jenna. Dad, are you sure? That's almost $3 million. I'm sure. You and your brother get everything else. House, equipment, savings. But the land stays farmland. Your great-grandfather cleared this with his hands. I'm not letting it become a parking lot. Silence. Then, Mom would have loved that. Yeah, she would have. I also established the Patty Briggs Memorial Agricultural Scholarship. $50,000 endowment from a book deal advance. Publisher wanted my story. I declined but negotiated the money as donation. $2,500 annually to Nebraska students pursuing agriculture or environmental science. First recipient, Luisa Herrera, 17, daughter of migrant workers, studying agricultural engineering. Award ceremony in May, on my property. Luisa stood in the same field where Maureen crashed, accepted the check, told everyone she wanted to help farmers grow more food with less environmental impact. I looked at her, young, smart, determined, and thought, this is what the fight was for. Not beating Maureen, not even protecting my land, making sure the next generation has a chance. Present day, I'm still farming, still donating 30% to the food bank. Russell and I planted wildflowers along our fence line, pollinator habitat for bees and butterflies. Prairie Meadows, actually good now. Vikram invites me to occasional HOA meetings as a neighbor, discussing shared concerns like road maintenance. Tim Brennan helped repair my barn roof. Denise does my taxes. 3 former HOA residents volunteer on my farm, learning organic methods. One retired engineer told me, my grandparents had a farm. I forgot how much I missed this. I told him what I tell everyone. It's never too late to remember where food comes from. Emily Tran won a journalism award for her coverage, got promoted to investigative reporter, covering property rights issues statewide. And me? 53 now. Body's stiffer. Coffee tastes better. The farmhouse still smells like Patty's lavender soap sometimes. I'm planting corn this spring. Same fields, same work. Smell of diesel and turned earth. Sound of the planter dropping seeds. The steering wheel worn smooth from 3 generations doing exactly this. I wave to Russell across the fence. He waves back. Everything's quiet. Everything's right.
Hybrid is still farming this same field right now. Same combine, same corn, modern fasted. She's in Arizona, divorced and properly still convinced she was right. Here's what gets me about this story. It wasn't the crash that handed her. It was 16 months of paperwork she never bothered to read. That 2090 achievement agreement was public. Go lên, I can do it. Hybrid is still farming that same field right now. Same combine, same corn, modern fasted. She's in Arizona, divorced, and probably still convinced she was right. Here's what got me about this story. It wasn't the crash that ended her. It was 16 months of paperwork she never bothered to read. That 2019 achievement agreement was public record. Anyone could pull it. But Maureen spent $18,000 of other people's money fighting to barter the developer was legally required to pay for it. That the thing about moral power, it doesn't take much, just a teeter, a clipboard, and a board that's too tired to ask questions. But in the wrong hand, it can cost you everything. If you're dealing with an HOA president who think their authority matters more than county record, here's what Hank taught us. Document everything. Know your property lines and never assume their start. Because you're right. They're only stop when continuing costs more than quitting. If you've got an HOA order story, drop it below. And if this shows you why the detail matter, hit subscribe. Because the $19,000 Mercedes can crack into a lot of things, but it can change what writing the black and white.